Several months ago, I questioned Taoiseach Leo Varadkar about the situation with transgender prisoners in Irish jails, and he said that he would be supportive of changing that policy. But it's several months later, and there's really been no movement on that from what I can tell from the Irish Prison Service and so on. Why are you bringing forward this legislation now that you're talking about today?
Yeah, so we have this really incredible situation at the moment, an incomprehensible situation that any male prisoner can now actually go to a female prison simply by applying for a gender recognition certificate. It's a major loophole in the Gender Recognition Act, and it means that women don't have safe spaces in women's prisons. And this is not theoretical. We know that right now there are two sex offenders, male-born sex offenders, in women's prison. One, a famous individual, Barbie Kardashian, who's there for really abhorrent sexual crimes in terms of threatening to rape his own mother, in terms of looking to do enormous physical damage as well. And it's just incredible that we've turned, logic on its head, and instead of, keeping rapists out of women's prisons, we now have a mechanism where male-born rapists can be put in women's prisons. So this bill seeks to bring back a bit of logic to the situation, whereby prisons are single sex, that you have to be a woman to be put into a woman's prison. And we welcome the fact that Leo Varadkar did make that statement, but it looks like the government are looking to roll back on that at the moment, and they've actually retreated significantly from that statement. And that's wrong, because the vast majority of people think it's absolutely wrong that a sex offender like Barbie Kardashian is in a woman's prison. All the polls are saying it, and we know that the government are receiving a lot of calls and annoyed, angry people in relation to this. So what we're doing is we're asking TDs to look at the bill and to back this bill, sign the bill if they want from the start, so we can put this into legislation as soon as possible.
It seems like not just on this issue, but on a lot of issues, the government has a pattern of pursuing policies that all polling and available data shows strongly unpopular with the general public. I mean, this issue, all polling shows that most people are not supportive of putting transgender prisoners into female prisons. Hate speech laws, the same thing. A whole host of issues, the migration situation. Why do you think we're seeing, one of the most classic things you always hear about politicians is that, they're only in it for the votes. They only chase what's popular. Why do we have a government that seems to only be chasing what's unpopular?
Well, I think we have ideological capture in the political establishment here in Leinster House. There's no doubt about that at the moment. I think between certain NGOs, between certain media organisations and the political system, many people are pursuing ideological objectives in relation to this instead of actually looking at common sense and science. And that's what we in Aontú are trying to bring back, a little bit of common sense and science-based approach. We think that the government are, derelict in their duty in terms of keeping people safe in state institutions such as prisons, and we think that the government are going to leave the country wide open to potential legal cases in the future. And one of the problems in relation to this is many of the TDs are afraid, and they're afraid because of the cancel culture that exists in the state at the moment. So if a TD puts their head above the parapet, what happens is a small cohort of Twitterati, who very, very harshly then attack that TD and call that TD shocking names that are absolutely not true whatsoever. So they're trying to kill that democratic discourse that's necessary for a functional democracy. One of the key foundations of us in Aontú is we believe that the competition of political ideas is key for a functioning democracy. And when you censor respectful ideas in the public sphere, what happens is TDs become afraid to articulate their views, and then you have big swings in terms of ideology, which create these problems. And that needs to change. And that's one of the major objectives we have as a political movement.